The GameCube was one of my favorite consoles growing up. This weird box was my main at-home supplier of entertainment, and it, along with the Game Boy Advance, were really such a big part of my childhood and helped shape me into the capital G gamer that I am today. I will always look fondly on the GameCube, and today I want to talk about my favorite games on the system. This is going to be in a top 5 format, but at the same time, I'm too weak and lack discipline to not mention more than 5 games, so expect a few honorable mentions as well. And I would like to hear your favorite GameCube games as well in the comments, and if you're interested and you also love the GameCube and want to listen to a longer GameCube favorites discussion, hop over to Craig's Game Room YouTube channel after this, where my buddies Craig, Tyler, and I all talk about our favorite GameCube games together. Our Generations Behind Retro Games Focus podcast comes out every 2 weeks, so make sure to subscribe to Craig's channel if you want to keep up with those discussions. Alright, let's get to the games. SSX Tricky. I've never been super big into sim sports games. For the most part, I'm not looking for realism in my games, and that's probably because I've been playing games like SSX Tricky since I was 5. SSX Tricky is a completely bonkers arcade snowboarding game from EA Sports Big.
EA Sports Big.
That has you doing what you ought to do in any snowboarding game, jumping off of big mountains and doing ridiculous tricks. The first level of this game, Garibaldi, makes the perfect first impression and lets you do exactly what I just described. Level starts, giant mountain, do some backflips. Can't beat that. Garibaldi probably has a chance at my top 10 video game levels, period. Whenever I do turn this game on these days, I'm only playing on Garibaldi. It's chock full of ramps and crazy grind rails, and I think it really allows you to just have fun. SSX Tricky does also have a racing mode, which I'm not as strong of a fan of, but it does allow you to knock over opposing players to instantly get full boost meter, and I do enjoy that. If you're playing in the World Circuit mode, basically the story mode if you want to call it that, pushing over opponents will build antagonistic relationships with them, and they'll try and knock you over in revenge. As funny as all that can be, nowadays I'm really only playing in show-off mode. It's what I love from the game, it's the bread and butter, just you on the track by yourself finding whatever way you can to score as many points as possible through tricks. Basic premise is, you do regular tricks to start off, and then once you fill up your tricky meter, it's time to pull out the nonsense and score the big points with the uber tricks. Chaining these together is a delight, and listening to Run DMC It's Tricky blasting the whole time really puts it over the top. Super Mario Sunshine. The next game on this list is one that gets a lot of flack these days, I feel like. Lowercase g gamers just love to hate on Mario Sunshine, but man, I do love this game. But to be fair to the criticisms, I'll get some of those out of the way. In Mario 64, there are lots of levels, but some of those levels aren't as fun as others. I'm looking at you, TikTok clock. But since that game only requires you to get a certain number of stars, you can really focus on the levels you do like. Well, in Sunshine, you don't have that luxury, and you have to get through most of the stages on all the levels in order to finish the game. I can look past that for the most part myself, but I understand why some don't enjoy that as much, because some of the levels just aren't as fun as others. I feel like Flood gets a lot of hate too, but I think that's just a bad take. Giving Mario a hover and a loose third-person shooter mechanic is cool, actually, and all the platforming goodness you expect are still there with the triple jumps, the wall jumps, and the diving. I think having Flood come back in a future 3D Mario title would be awesome. I really do feel like it opens up some fun platforming possibilities, and who doesn't love cleaning up all the gunk on the island? Sunshine was basically Power Wash Simulator before Power Wash Simulator, a truly inspiring game. One thing I think everyone can agree on though is Delfino Plaza is an incredible hub area. Wall kicking around the rooftops of this tropical beach town, listening to the Delfino Plaza music could have been a game on its own, I would still be happy. It's really hard for me to listen to that song and not be in a good mood. Sunshine is a really funny game too. Not only is there voice acting for some reason, but the game starts with a long cutscene where Mario is wrongfully convicted of a crime and spends time in jail before being sentenced to clean up the island. I can't really think of a better way to start a Mario game. It's perfect. Overall, I think Sunshine gets dunked on a little bit too much. It's a very smooth, fun to control game with some experimental mechanics and all the charm you'd expect from a Mario game. This game is the GameCube to me, and I'll always have a good time with it. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. One of my favorite, if not my actual favorite, game series is Fire Emblem. I've played all the games that have been localized to English, and even played some of the Japanese-only ones, and watched full playthroughs of the ones I haven't. The GameCube, though, has one of my favorite entries of the series in Path of Radiance. This was not my first Fire Emblem. I played a couple on the Game Boy Advance before this, but this being on the big screen felt like the most important one to me as a kid. Moment-to-moment gameplay is not a huge leap over the GBA games. You're still on a grid playing rock, paper, scissors and leveling up characters for the most part, but seeing the battles play out with 3D characters and seeing big moments in the story get actual CG cutscenes is awesome and a big step up from its handheld counterparts. The cast of characters in this game is fantastic, and experiencing moments of betrayal from these characters and seeing them deal with serious themes like racism with the Laguz characters really helps push the story up for me. Seeing these more daring storytelling decisions makes the game feel more important and makes me feel more invested in how the characters will react and handle these situations. Path of Radiance is a really cool skill system, making unit classes feel more unique and allowing you to really feel the weight of your decision to level up certain characters. I like the bonus experience mechanic, allowing you to level up new or under-leveled characters and getting more of that bonus experience for completing certain objectives in the levels. Unlocking support conversations with characters not only gives some good expanded dialogue and character interactions, but also makes a big difference in the battlefield with the affinity boosts. All of this unit building takes place in between chapter-based mechanics, and I think its iteration of that idea in Path of Radiance is one of the stronger versions in the series. Battle Preps is almost as fun as the actual gameplay to me, so this goes a long way in my book. I love this game and Ike as a character so much I mained him in Smash Bros. Brawl just because he was the coolest video game character in existence to me. Cape plus big sword plus headband equals certified badass in my brain, so I was always attached to Ike as a character and Path of Radiance as a whole. Super Smash Bros. Melee. This next game is the one I've probably played for the most total hours in the system, both with friends and solo, and that's Smash Melee. I love all the Smash Bros. Games, and Melee was the first one I played. I know I'm not the only one, and this was probably one of the main objectives of Smash Bros., but one of my favorite parts of this game is the history and exposure to characters and series I was unaware of through Melee. I had not played Fire Emblem when I first unlocked Marth and Roy in Melee. I had no clue who Ness or Captain Falcon were. To this day, I still don't really know what I'm supposed to care about the Ice Climbers, but seeing these characters represented and having the incredible trophy system in the game to read about these characters and the games they come from are a really special part of the game to me. Ignoring all of that, the actual gameplay of Melee is also so great. The fast pace of the game is a big selling point for me, and it just feels so good to move around. Whether I'm playing against a computer or a friend, whether I'm getting my ass kicked or dunking my opponent off the stage, I'm having a blast. This game also has my favorite selection of single-player modes in the series. I think Adventure and All-Star modes are extremely fun to try and finish with each character, and the Break the Targets mode in this game is just so cool. Having each character have a stage designed around their moveset was such a cool decision, and I wish that concept could be feasible in Smash Ultimate, but I guess having 90 characters makes that a bit tough. Smash Melee is also my favorite fighting game to watch. The competitive top-level Melee is so exciting and has a great mix of players who have been playing the game for 20 plus years, honing their craft along with newer players and newer ideas, bringing some previously lower tier characters to the top, like the recent Donkey Kong Renaissance. Melee is a special game, and I know Nintendo won't do it, but an official Melee HD with online multiplayer would be the dream. Honorable mentions. Alright, before I talk about my favorite GameCube game, I do want to shout out a couple honorable mentions like I mentioned earlier. Each of these three games are top 5 caliber games in my opinion, but each have something holding them back slightly for me personally. First one up is Animal Crossing. This pleasant, cozy vibes of this game are a major selling point. Exploring the town at your own pace and talking to the vibrant cast of villagers and other special NPCs. I love going out fishing, getting my daily fossils, and selling all the fruit and seashells on the island each day to fund my ever-growing home expansion and decorating the interior. But once you get the ball rolling in this game, it almost turns into the equivalent of doing your daily challenges in a mobile game. It's hard to really spend more than 30 minutes playing this game some days once you do all your chores. I still adore the game and have nothing really bad to say about it, but I can't quite sneak it in my top 5 with the daily check-in nature of the game in mind. The next one I want to talk about is Mario Superstar Baseball, my favorite Mario sports game on the GameCube. I've always loved baseball, and this game is so fun to build a roster in. My go-to lineup sees Yoshi leading off with excellent speed and laying down a nice bunt to get on, Luigi using his special move to move Yoshi over, Mario using his special move to knock in a couple runs, and then freaking Big Bat Daisy in the cleanup spot to try and hit one out. I love batting in this game, but pitching is also pretty fun too. Peach is a menace on the bump, but what stops this game getting to my top 5 is the somewhat limited single player. Sure, the minigames are fun, and playing against computers is solid, but it's really the most fun when sitting on the couch playing against a friend. The last honorable mention I wanted to bring up is actually The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. I don't really have a big reason as to why this game isn't in the top 5 due to the game itself. It's more that I just personally haven't played this game in almost 20 years, so I didn't really feel right putting it above these other games I've gone back to over and over again. I really do enjoy this game and I want to play it again, but I'm eagerly awaiting that long-rumored Switch port to replay the game, and I've been avoiding going back to the GameCube version with this possible port in mind. Alright, now it's time for the number 1 spot, and that game, believe it or not, belongs to Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. The huge library of Sonic games is honestly pretty hit or miss for me, but both of the adventure games are very high on my list of all-time favorite games, Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube even managing to be in the top 10 games all-time overall for me. So what do I like so much about it? The story is a silly romp around the world and into space, and the cutscenes or dialogue are very goofy, and the characters all talk over one another to the point where it's hard to even follow what's going on, but that all melts away from me when I'm in the levels playing the game, and it's just constant action. The Sonic and Shadow levels are my favorites, like a lot of people, but that doesn't mean I dislike the other 2 level types. The treasure hunting levels of Knuckles and Rouge are great, getting to soar around with their fantastic gliding movement, using hints to find hidden items. The Eggman and Tails levels are much slower than the other 2 types, but the constant joy of locking onto robots and blowing them up while rampaging through the stage in your big giant mech is super cool. Sonic and Shadow levels are so fast and have some fun 3D platforming, and I think their homing attacks are super satisfying to chain between enemies. City Escape and Metal Harbor are classic levels that I could go back and play at any moment and have fun with over and over. Outside of these levels, there's the real secret sauce of the adventure games with the Chow Gardens, a component of the games that Sega has clearly decided would make them too much money going forward, so they stopped doing it. Getting animals and stat boosters items from the stages and bringing them back to your chows to level them up is a great change of pace between the action, and seeing them build up and change based on how you raise them through the game is really neat. The chow races in karate are fun little opportunities to see your hard work shine, getting to see your chow run laps around others, or just getting to see it roundhouse kick another chow in the face. Sonic Adventure 2 has incredible music that still slaps to this day. Live and Learn and City Escape are some of the best video game traps ever in my opinion, and we can't forget about the musical genius that is Pumpkin Hill. I always find a reason to come back and play this game and enjoy it every time. It's my favorite GameCube game, and one day I really hope Sega makes a true Sonic Adventure 3 in this style. Thanks for watching. This is a fun chance to revisit some classics, and I'm really happy to get my thoughts into video form. If you want to see more from me, I post videos about all sorts of games, new, retro, indie, AAA, whatever I'm playing at the time. If you like this video and want to see what's next, go ahead and subscribe. Also, don't forget to check out the Generations Behind podcast on Craig's channel. I'll link it below, with the most recent episode being a GameCube discussion with the games I talked about in this video, plus some other favorites from Craig and Tyler. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.